First and foremost, thank you so much for coming on the platform. It's definitely an honor. I appreciate you.
Sure, my pleasure. Good afternoon to you.
Oh, no problem. I'm in Ghana right now, so it's nighttime here. So
Okay.
let me see. Man, you've accomplished so much. For the viewers who may not recognize you, a lot of times you're behind the camera. Let them know who you are and definitely where you're from.
My name is Cecil Williams. I live in Orangeburg, South Carolina. I've been a photographer my entire life, and in 2019, I started the first and only civil rights museum in the state of South Carolina. So we are about 5 years into that now, and we've had about 30,000 visitors in those 5 years.
Wow, that's truly amazing. I mean, that's inspiring for you to have accomplished so much. And at this point in your career, you're still going, you're still doing phenomenal things. I haven't been to the museum, but I love museums and I definitely want to come check it out as soon as possible.
We're delighted to have you.
Right, right. Now I got to be honest with you. I've seen so many of your pictures throughout the years, but I wasn't really familiar with you until I seen a picture. It was a young man. He was at a water fountain, and it said like, I think it said whites only. Could you speak about that
Mhm.
picture a little bit?
I was about 18 years old, and I had started photography for Jet and Ebony magazine. And I was coming back from an assignment about 35 miles from where I live here in Orangeburg. I was coming back from the coast of South Carolina after doing an assignment, and got thirsty, and I pulled into a service station, and I got out the car. I drank out of the fountain. They looked at me very hard, but they continued doing what they were doing. And my friend Rundle Harper, who accompanied me drinking out of the fountain, and then he did the same thing, and I photographed him. So my mother really chewed me out doing that because that was kind of risky business. And although there was not a law about that, the laws mostly particular laws that regulated where you went to school. In every town in the deep South, there were local customs that, again, where you had things like white only, white uh, service facilities, or you can't go to a theater, and white only water fountains. So, well, that was something that my mother had warned me not to do, but I was thirsty, so I did it anyway.
Oh, that's amazing. I appreciate you sharing that history because that photo has went viral and a lot of people we laugh about it, but like you mentioned, that was very, very serious. If you could have the wrong person would have seen you doing that, or if you would have been in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you think back at it, what harm would there have been to, drink out of a fountain? I mean, there were such silly laws governing the separation of races, racism. So, even though that era, that time, and those they were harnessed, and people seem to think that civil rights and the pursuit of freedom, justice, and equality in America, there's no need to pursue that any longer. History today is very relevant, and we are still in the United States of America largely determined or governed by the color of our skin. So it's still a race uh, barrier that exists in this country, even though, of course, there are laws against it, but you cannot legislate what's in people's hearts. So it just goes to show you that so many Americans still have not fully accepted people of color into the mainstream of this country and to all the opportunities that you have. And so many opportunities are taken away from us uh, by virtue of the fact the color of our skin. So it's still a very serious situation. And democracy being very fragile, it doesn't take much for some nutcase like we had in the White House a few years back to come along and upset things and really, you might say, jumpstart another series of racist racism in the United States, which is presently going on. And so we here are in South Carolina, as there is in many other places, we're still trying to, of course, recapture the momentum we had when, of course, things had changed the most and there were greater opportunities for people of color. But I'm afraid that we still have a ways to go. We still have to kick the can down the road a little longer for that to really happen.
Yes, yes, definitely. The struggle continues. Now I can ask you this. Now what was it like for you growing up in Orangeburg at that time? Was it a lot of like racial tension, or did you not experience it so much until you got outside of where you were at?
Well, I am a child of segregation. I grew up in the most rigid part of where segregation was really, where segregation prevailed. Everything that I did, from schooling to even getting a hamburger, of course, in some way was overshadowed by the racism and Jim Crow laws, living in a small community like Orangeburg. We are a college town. We have HBCUs here in Orangeburg, but still yet racism prevailed. At one time, as a child, I could not even go to the library because the library was closed to people of color. And of course, there were some places, restaurants, where you could go, you couldn't go in the front door, you'd have to go to the side and get your order out of the side door. Uh, there were traveling along the highways and byways of America, going into a service station to get gas. Could you use the bathroom? A lot of times, no. So if you wanted to go to a theater, you would have to sit upstairs um, or in some side entrance, go up a side entrance to go into a theater to look at a movie. So this kind of extreme racism prevailed during the time that I grew up, and it has a everlasting impact on my life and from the perspective that I see today. But I fought in everywhere that I could to overcome those obstacles. I went to jail twice, demonstrating and marching and protesting. Uh, and in doing so, myself and others like me, we were really tweaking the United States Constitution and the 14th Amendment because these rights should have been uh, allowed, allowable for us to engage in and to be a part of. But if certainly, if you were a person of color, they did not apply to you. So you could not do so many things.
Okay, okay. Wow, I appreciate you sharing that. Now I gotta ask you, now how did you fall in love with photography? What inspired you to even go that far to pick up a
Well,
camera and make it a career?
well, I used to draw as a child, 8 or 9 years old. I would try to sketch and draw cars and houses and trees. And then my brother gave me a hand-me-down camera, a Kodak Baby Brownie. And to me, that was like a magic box. And I was able to, again, carry my lack of being able to draw good, maybe a step down with being able to create images with my camera. So my first camera, again, got me really hooked. And then I got a better camera, and then a camera with a flash on it, and just kept on going. And at 12 years old, I have a a dark room in my house from which I can process my pictures. Uh, and so, all during high school, of course, I was the yearbook photographer and the newspaper photographer, and it was my hustle. I at one time would chase automobile wrecks and fires, take a picture of it, and sell it to the local newspaper, for example. So photography has been in my blood and is part of my entire life. And I never have regretted entering this profession. Sorry to say that today it offers few opportunities because today there are so many photographers. But my photography today has turned directions, of course, with digital. And one of the things that I do the most of today is to restore old pictures, which is something ordinarily is not uh, something most people can do to say take an old picture and take the cracks out of it, or open a person's eyes if they're closed on the photograph, or put a cracked picture back together again, or to take a fading image and bring it back to its full glory than it was when it was made as a photograph. So my entire life has been in photography, and I have never regretted it.
Oh, that's amazing. Cause you always hear people say, I know it sounds cliche to say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but you can take 1,000 pictures and like you say, fixing them and recreating them, making people open their eyes. That's amazing. That's truly amazing. Let me see. Now you worked for you got a chance to work for Jet.
Jet and Ebony magazine, yes.
Now, how was
Uh,
that? How did you connect with
Jet,
them?
well, it just goes to prove that there were so many things happening in the state of South Carolina. Yet, if you were right now to, if any of your listeners would right now take your phone and you in the Google search would say, who started the civil rights movement? It would say the Reverend Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, the Montgomery bus boycott. We take exception to that. We believe that Martin Luther King was a great individual, deserves a holiday, and one of the bravest people that ever lived, and the greatest symbol of the American civil rights movement. However, he did not start the civil rights movement. Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, the Montgomery, Alabama people, come to life in 1956. Our civil rights history starts in 1949 and 1950, 5 and 6 years before there was even a Martin Luther King or Rosa Parks. Uh, we in South Carolina are ones that brought forth that decision called Brown versus Board of Education. And that was like 5 years before Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. So much of our history is just not known and reported, but we indeed feel that here in South Carolina, this was the epic center of the American civil rights movement and not Montgomery, Alabama.
Oh, okay, okay. I appreciate you sharing that history. And it's good to hear from somebody that was there. You was around and you was a part of it as well, and still a part of it. Got a chance to work for the newspaper in Pittsburgh.
I worked for the Pittsburgh Courier and also the Amsterdam News and also the Afro American. Those were weekly publications. And actually, with them, I just had a freelance status. I didn't actually work for them. I just contributed my photographs to them. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Now I was looking at your profile online. Now they were saying that are you an inventor? You invented things?
Um, since I started in photography a long time ago and everything was on film, uh, I invented a device called the film toaster, which is a device. I'm trying to turn it around here. May not be successful to show you what a film toaster is. No, I can't quite do that. But anyway, this device enables me to scan my film about 50 times faster than any other method out there. So I actually invented a product. I have it patent pending, and I can actually scan film much faster than any other method there is. So I use that to scan my entire collection of film.
Wow, okay, okay. Now that's amazing. Now, is this a recent invention or this is something you was working on since back in the
I
day?
did. I invented. No, I invented in 2015. I have sold hundreds all over the world.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Now I gotta ask you, you're an author as well. You have books out.
I have published over the years 5 books, and they all have the same kind of theme that giving South Carolina with the credit of being the cradle and the catalyst of the American civil rights movement, which is much different from the average American history or black history. Again, we seem to think only about the Reverend Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks. Great heroes they were, but they did not start the civil rights movement and did not come along to 5 to 10 years later than we here in South Carolina.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely important to reiterate that because I know in school, like a lot of times, we'll hear about Montgomery, we'll hear about Alabama, we'll hear about Mississippi, Georgia,
Yes.
South Carolina, North Carolina, not as much. What inspired you to kind of get to becoming an author? Was it something you always wanted to do, or was it something you kind of just got into?
Yes, well, when you had a large collection of images like I did, and you wanted to get them out into the public and show about the history and the experiences that I had, that was one of the ways to do it. So the 5 books that I've written are documentaries about my photographs and events that happened in South Carolina that most of America is not aware of. So it's one of those things that that drove me to the point where I needed to share, and the best way was to do it through books.
Okay, okay. Now, is that something similar to the reason why you started the museum, or was it something separate? Like, what at
Yes,
what point?
museum
Okay,
also,
yeah.
when you experience things as I did and through my eyes, when you see a history and it's an alternate history, um, and you are almost compelled, driven or inspired that you need to tell. I'm a storyteller, and that's really what I do in my photography and in the experiences I've had, um, about a time in America when racial change took the concentrated efforts of many people who do not get credit for it. And I wanted to share my experiences so that those people could be, again, recognized for the sacrifices they made, sacrifices that we don't really give them credit for.
Okay, okay. Man, that's amazing. Now I can ask you, by being Black History Month, do y'all have any upcoming events or programs or anything going on?
Well, every day we have visitors coming in. So today we had a number of visitors. In fact, we had a distinguished history professor from Howard University, and him to come in with another individual from Claflin University. Then earlier this morning, we also had a group of children coming from Summerville, South Carolina. We don't charge anything for admission to the museum. We, of course, accept donations to help the museum run along. We have no full-time employees. So again, this is the first and only civil rights museum in the state of South Carolina. Yet to kind of give you an idea of how much the state of South Carolina, how little the state of South Carolina cares about people of color. Even today, after starting a civil rights museum, and this state being the only state that does not have one, the state of South Carolina still nevertheless helps us. So it's one of those things where somebody asks me, if someone were to ask me, are we still living in a segregated society? Yes, overwhelmingly, this is America still has not yet really fairly dealt with people of color. Look what we did to the Native Americans. Europeans came to this country, and the relatively mild-mannered Native Americans welcomed them, did not fight them or try to interrupt their coming onto their land. Welcome to the land, brought food out to them, to whatever. And what did Europeans do? They wiped them off the face of the earth, took their land, killed their people, and put them on reservations. Such a pitiful situation that we stand in the name of America, the land of the free and the home of the brave. But again, this country has a terrible record of dealing with people that are not like the majority group that prevails in government, in politics, in business. Everything is sided towards, again, non African Americans. Again, we are still worldwide governed and treated because of the color of our skin. Most intelligent people know that there is only one race, the human race. Then some scientists have had to classify us according to races, but that's the minute, small differences in people are caused by thousands of years of living in a particular geographic location of the United States, or the world. If you live in the coastal region and have little need for there to be pigment in your skin is going to get lighter. The closer you get to the equator, you to block out the UV rays. The closer you get to the equator, the darker your skin than most people who developed around that. So it's a geographical kind of thing, and through the anthropological kinds of things over thousands of years, that us as human beings develop these characteristics because that's what our body does. Our body adapts so it can better perform in the geographical region. We're in the frigid, coldest part of the world, in the Arctic region or Antarctic or whatever, Alaska or whatever, again, as opposed to those people who live closer to the equator. It's just very simple. So we've got to get past that. And I think it's only through education that people understand this, that the small differences between us, again, are not really worth fighting about. And we should just, in the words of Rodney King, who a long time ago was at the mercy of a beating in California, a long time before, again, the current police brutality we saw on the screens of American television. Rodney King says, can't we get along? And so it's still that yet here today, that in the United States of America, the home of the free, the land of the brave, we still need to get along.
Indeed, indeed. I know you got to make some moves. I know you're busy. I just want to thank you so much for everything that you have done and the things that you are continuing to do. So I guess my last question is, are you working on anything new? Maybe a movie about your life, a documentary, another book, or something for the museum, that we can kind of,
The biggest thing we're now anticipating is the city of Orangeburg and the county of Orangeburg is building us a $5 million museum. So we're looking forward to making the exhibits. We hope to break ground in April of this year and have that museum in a business location rather than in the residential area the current museum is in. So that's the biggest thing that's happening now. We're very proud that this is something that is going on. In fact, this is our museum that's going to be built here in Orangeburg.
wow.
And we are thrilled about the possibility of moving into a place that's 3 times bigger than the place we are. So that's happening right now. Thank you very much for this great privilege of speaking with you. I'm very sorry we had a few hiccups in getting on here, but very happy that I could make it be a part of your programming. And all I say is keep up the good work.
Oh yeah, no doubt. It's definitely an honor, King. I want to thank the viewers for tuning in. It's been a phenomenal episode of Taye Speaks. So until next time, family, peace.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.